Hi Sumit, on today's video I'm going to be teaching you how to sew a play gown that has a shirt, upper and a collar. For this flay you can do whatever flay you want, the traces to play, the gathers, the plinting. On my own video, as my clients requested, I did a plinting gather, so stay tuned. These are my fabric needed. To make this gown, you'll be needing a 3 years of fabric or 3.5, depending on your style. So first, I'm going to fold my fabric into two. Then I'm just going to cut out the excess that is not needed. So I'll cut out the excess, then I'll mark my half length. The length of this gown is 50, so my half length is 17. I'm going to mark 17 plus 1 inch, that's 18. So I'm going to mark 18 inches across. After marking my, I'll come out by 2 inch to mark my button allowance. You always come out by 2 inches to mark your button when making a shirt. So that's what I'm doing here. So I'll just mark the line across. So after marking it, I'm going to mark my neck width and depth. So for the width, I'm going to mark 2.5 inch. Then for the depth for the front, I'm going to mark 3 inches. So that's what I did here. So I'll just connect it. This tutorial, I'm just making use mostly of the cutting. I'm making use of freehand for my drafting. So I'll just connect it. Then after that, I'll divide my shoulder by two. That's 8 inches. I'll mark it. Then I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Then I'll connect a slant there. That's for our shoulder slant. Then after that, I'm going to come down by 9 inches. I'm going to come down by 9 inches for my shoulder depth, my armpit depth, I mean. So after that, I'm going to divide my client's measurements by two. That's quarter. I'm going to divide it by quarter of our bust measurement, then I'll mark it there. Then at the armpit side, I came in by half inch. Then I'm just going to connect my armpit curve to give it that relaxing. So after that, at the waist, I'm going to mark the waist measurement by two. You can see I'm not adding allowance yet, we'll get there. So I'm just going to mark it 35 divided by 2, then I'll mark what it gave me. So I'll mark it. So now for this shade, I want it to be 1 inch free, 1 inch free. So now I'm going to mark 2 inch allowance all around. So the 2 inch, 1 inch is going to be for the freeness, then the extra 1 inch is going to be for the sewing allowance. So I'm just going to pin it, then I'll cut it out, then we'll proceed to cut the back. So before cutting the back, I'll go ahead and fold my 2 inch allowance in. I'll fold the 2 inch allowance in, then I will iron it. I will iron it. So I'm just going to fold it. You're going to fold your 2 inch allowance before you cut the back. You're going to fold your 2 inch allowance. Then you're going to press it. After pressing it, you are going to notch both ends where you folded from at the beginning of the folding and at the end of the folding. So this is how it looks like. So I'm just going to notch it as seen. So I'm notching this edge, then I'll open it and notch to that end. So this is how it looks like. Then I'll just fold it, then I'll place it to cut the back. So I went ahead to place it on my back. I'm just going to adjust it very well. So for the back depth, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. I'm going to come down by 1 inch for the back depth. I'm just going to cut out the excess first. But for the back depth, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. I'm just going to check. Then I'll come down by 1 inch to mark the depth of the back. Your back depth is not supposed to be that deep. So you either come down by 1 inch or 1.5 inch, then you just connect the curve. So for my back armpit, I'm not going to make it curvy as the front. I'm just going to make it a little bit straight. You know, our back armhole is not the same with the front. So I'm just going to make a straight curve. You can see I came out a little bit, leaving that half inch that I came in when cutting the back. So I'm just going to cut out the excess. Cutting the back and the front, we are going to work on the front first. So I'm just going to remove my pin, then I'll keep the back piece aside. So for the front, I'm going to divide it into two where I notch. So that's the reason of you notching there. So I'm going to open it, then I'll iron it flatly. So I'm going to fold it inside. So I'm just going to iron it so I'll be able to fold it. So after folding it like this, I'm going to use my hemming gum. I'm going to use my hemming gum to fold in my allowance. I don't want to stitch on it. The reason why I don't want to stitch on it directly on my machine is because I'm going to make my buttonhole, then I'll put my button. There's no need of you stitching on that your button allowance. It's rare for people to stitch on button allowance these days, so this is the best way that it work out for me. So the only tacking I'm do is the button allowance alone will help you hold it than stitching on it to give it that fine look. So the next step, I'm going to take my back and front, then I'll join both shoulder together as seen. I'm just going to pin it, then I'm going to join both shoulder together with half inch. I'm going to take it to my machine, then I'll join with half inch. So after joining it, this is what it looks like. Then the next steps is to measure my round neck. So I'll be able to cut my collar. So I'm just going to measure my round neck. Whatever it gave me, I'll use it to cut out my collar. So I'm just measuring round. Then I'll bring my pattern paper to use it to cut my collar. So I'll keep my fabric outside. So this is the pattern. My collar plus my stand is going to be 3 inches long. So I'm going to divide the round measurement I got from my neck. I'm going to divide it by two, and I'll place it on my pattern paper. Then I'll also add my stitching allowance to it. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm going to add my stitching allowance. Then I'll go up by 3.5 inch. The half inch is for the stitching allowance. So I'm just going to mark 3.5 to the end of where I mark my round measurement for my neck. So I'm just going to mark it and then I'll cross it. So the next step is to mark my 2 inch for my collar, the collar part. So I'm going to mark the 2 inch for the collar. My collar is usually 2 inch, while the stand is 1 inch. So that's fine for me. So I'm going to mark my exact collar measurement plus half inch allowance. So I'm just going to create a straight line. Then by I'm going to come in by 1.5 inch to create my collar. That's that slant there. I'm going to come in by 1.5 inch. Then I'm just going to create a curve at the edge of the stand, and that's all for my collar. I used to cut my collars together. This is how I do cut it, and it's very fast. It's okay. So I'm just going to cut it. I'm just going to cut the excess out. So after cutting it out, where I point, I'm just going to come up by half inch and slant it. This is to make my collar relax very well at the back. So that's what I did there. So the next step, I'm going to take my collar to my fabric and measure the amount of fabric I need. So I'm just going to mark it. Then I'll fold it into, when cutting this collar, you're going to cut it into two because there is no joining at the edge. The only place we have joining for this collar is by the side and at the down part. So after cutting it, I'm going to take it to my table. Then I'll add my paper gum to the fabric. You can add paper gum, air stain, anyone that you prefer. So for this tutorial, I'm using a paper gum to infuse my material. So after infusing it with my paper gun, I'm just going to fold it into two. Then I'll fold it into two again as seen. So I'm just going to place my collar on it. I'll pin it. Then I'll cut out, leaving like quarter an inch at the down part to help me to stitch it. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut it across. This is what it looks like. So this I'm cutting it. You can see that I left quarter an inch at the upper side, and this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. So I'm just going to sew half inch in where I'm marking my chalk. I'm going to sew like half inch in. I'll take it to my machine and sew. So after sewing it, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to notch where my collar starts from, the sharp edge. I'm going to notch it round. You're going to notch it so your collar will relax very well. All these little tasks you need to take notes when sewing. If not, you end up having a rough result. So I'm just going to notch it, then I will turn it. I will turn it. After turning it, I'm just going to iron it. I'll give it a very good press. I'll give it a very good press. I'll fold it into two again and iron. So after that, I'm just going to come in by half inch, then I'll fold it. I'll fold it only one side of the collar. At the down part, I'm going to fold only one side of it. You get what I'm you get what I'm trying to say when we start sewing. So I'm just going to fold one side because the other side I'll use it to sew it round. While this side I'm sewing, I'll use it to overlap it. So I'm going to bring my fabric, then I'll indicate where my center is at the back. I'm going to notch it. I'll indicate where the center is at the back. So I'm going to notch it. After notching it, I'll use my collar. I'll use the side I not fold at the down part, this side. The side I showing white at the collar. So I'm going to fix it, the middle point facing the middle point of the shirt. So I'm just going to pin it round. I'll take it to my machine, then I'll sew it and show you what it looks like. So after sewing it, this is what it looks like. I only sew one side. So the next step is to fold the side I just sew. I'm going to fold it inside, then I'll lap it with this side I iron. That's what I was trying to say. I'll lap it, then I'll take it to the machine to sew. So after sewing it, this is what it looks like. Our collar is already coming out. So I'm just going to fold our collar into two at the notch side. I'm going to fold it into two to give it that collar stand, that relaxedness there. So that's what I'm trying to do. So the next step is just to fold your collar in your shirt into two. I'm just going to arrange it very well. Then I'll flip it over to the wrong side. I'll flip it over to the wrong side. Then I'll take it to my machine to sew with half inch. The 1 inch allowance, sorry, the 1 inch allowance we left earlier for the stitching allowance. So I'm just trying to adjust it very to see if everything is okay. Then I'll flip it to the wrong side. After flipping it, I'm coming in by 1 inch. So I'm just going to pin it first. But I'm coming in by 1 inch to sew it. I will take it to my machine to sew with that 1 inch allowance we left when drafting it out. So after sewing it, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to adjust it very well. I'm going to adjust it very well. Then for the armpit, I'm going to measure my armpit measurement. If it's that 9 I marked earlier, if it's not, then I'll just come in by half inch and cut at the both side. So that's what I'm doing here. I'll just cut at the both sides to make sure that it's okay. Then I'll measure my round armpit. So the next step now is to cut out um your sleeve, any sleeve you want to use. For this, I'm going to be using a three-quarter sleeve. So I'm just going to fold my fabric into two. Mark I've already marked the weight like what I wanted. So I'm just going to mark the length of the sleeve I want, 16 inches. Then I'll mark it across just um mark out how I want my armpit to look like. We already know how to draw a sleeve, so I'm just going to check if it's okay, if it's accurate with my armpit. So that's what I'm doing here. So after cutting it out, I'm going to notch the middle of my sleeve. Then I'm going to take it to my machine. I'll just fold it in. I'll fold it in. I'll shaping it. Then I'm going to fix it to my shirt. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take it to my machine. I'll fix the sleeve. So after fitting the sleeve, this is what it looks like. Our half length is almost ready. It's ready. So the next step, I'm just going to adjust it very well. Then I will take one part of the shirt. I'm going to lap it together. Then I'll stitch it. Where I'm arranging, that's what I'm going to do there. I'm going to take one part of the shirt. I'm going to lap it on top of the other one. Then I'll stitch it. Then the next step, I'm going to bring out the fabric I want to use for my plinting. So I went ahead to cut it. I'm just going to check if the measurement left is enough. So I'm taking it to the machine. I'm going to sew the down part. I'll fold it in. Then the other side, I'm going to plint it on the half length. I'll show you how I'm going to plint it with a fork. I'm going to plint it with a fork so it will have the same measurements. This trick is so good. I just practiced it and it came out very well. So that's what I'm going to do when I get to my machine. I'm going to pleat it on the half length like this. So that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm pleating it. You just be adjusting it. Don't let your machine needle clamp on the fork. You just be going very little. Then you achieve a very nice result. Our the gown is almost ready. It's ready. It's halfway done. So at the end of this fabric, you have where it's not stitched. You're just going to stitch it together to close up the joint. So that's what I did, and our gown is ready. This is what it looks like. Thank you for watching this far. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can reach me out on Instagram. Thank you. See you in my next class. Please share this video.